Hey, everybody. Good morning. Happy Saturday. We are Julie Roginski and Michelle Kinney with you this morning. JoJo is on her way. She is dealing with some baseball stuff with her kids, but she is running back from the field as quickly as possible to join us. She'll be here. And Tara Setmayer is still traveling to incredible parts of the world. When she is back, I'm sure she'll fill everybody in on because the pictures that she's been sending us are just ridiculous. It makes me wonder what here sitting
I
in,
know.
and Michelle, you're sitting in New York right now when we should be where Tara is, which is surfing a desert right now. So she is
Yep.
this magical place that she is absolutely making me very jealous about. But we want to first thank everybody for joining us yesterday for our emergency Substack Live on the tariff terror that Trump is inflicting on us. And we could talk more about that as the show goes on. But it's been an insane week because, Michelle, it's been kind of a high and low week. We started the week off really inspirationally, I think, with Cory Booker doing his incredible 25-hour, 4-minute filibuster. The beauty of that, in addition to the fact that finally a Democrat stood up and actually showed people how it's done, is that he broke the filibuster. It wasn't really a filibuster because he wasn't filibustering any legislation.
Right. Holding the floor. Right.
Yeah, he held the floor longer than anybody else, and he broke the record of Strom Thurmond, who was holding the floor to prevent people like Cory Booker
Right.
in 1950, I believe it was 57, of having the same equal rights that he enjoyed. And so the fact that Cory Booker, of all people, broke this horrible segregationist record is fantastic. Did I ever tell you my Strom Thurmond story?
No.
I actually have a Strom Thurmond story. So I'm old enough that I worked in the Senate when Strom Thurmond was still there. And by the time that I got there, which was about, I want to say 2001 or so, Strom Thurmond was so old that he had these two guys who would go with him like everywhere. And I'm holding my coffee, so I'm going to try to show you what I mean. But they would hold him up by elbows, like one on each elbow. And he was like this like doddering old man who's completely out of it.
Right.
Kind of like when I say out of it, I mean, anytime Republicans want to talk about Joe Biden, like Joe Biden could have run 20 marathons compared to what they did. Strom Thurmond was like 1,000 years old. Literally would be dragged onto the floor by these two guys whose only job was to prop him up by the elbows and literally drag him to vote. But then what's so weird about Strom Thurmond is every single time some girl with big boobs and big blonde hair would show up anywhere within a 100-mile radius of him, he'd like snap out of it. They'd be like, "Come over here, honey." And he'd go up to her, and he was like little tiny shriveled guy, smaller than any of these women. And he would start grinding himself on her.
Ew, are you serious?
So gross.
What the hell? This is like, you hear these people who are, older and maybe are struggling with dementia or something. They hear their favorite song or something and they come to for a little bit. You hear these stories, but like that's something else. He's so like he only the blood only pumps through his veins when he sees some big booby.
It wasn't pumping through his veins. It was pumping through something else. But
God.
To the extent that it could. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's too gross and Saturday. And if Joe were here,
Wait, but for real though, how old was he when he left
I don't even know.
Or did he die in office?
He basically went home and then died.
Okay.
But he must have been in his 90s by that point. I don't even know if he wants to Google how old Strom Thurmond was around 2001. And so he was like this like doddering old man, and it was so strange to see him and know that the role in history that he played of just trying to do everything he could to prevent people from having equal rights. But by the time, I saw him, he was like a joke. He was like a caricature of a human being who would only get motivated not to abrogate anybody's rights, but to try to hit on women 1/10 his age. And like would literally like a dog, like grind himself up on these women.
Ew. Like, what is wrong? What is wrong with men? Why are men?
But so, it was so, and I think we've talked about this before, like Cory Booker. I know Cory Booker really well. I was fine for his first two Senate races. Like Cory Booker is the complete opposite of that. Cory Booker, legitimately, you guys, like with Booker, unlike most politicians, what you see is what you get. He really is that way in real life. And like I've spent hours with him where in very stressful situations where the kind of truth of the person comes out and the reality is he really is that way. He really is this very considerate, nice human being is all about peace and love, which I don't know if that's the right tone in this day and age, but nevertheless.
Yeah.
And it was just so gratifying to me having sort of seen the two sort of bookends of these two people that was the person who broke Strom Thurmond's record.
Yeah.
The other segregationist I didn't serve in the Senate, obviously, but I worked in the Senate, who served at the time that I was in the Senate, was Jesse Helms. And he had this like little motorized scooter that he was on because he also was decrepit and old, also horrible. And he would like run people over. He literally would like, he'd be like, he wouldn't even tell people to get out of his way. He would like speed up and literally mow people down in that fucking scooter every time. And like, they're just miserable people. They're just
miserable people who have been in the same job for so long and feel so entitled to just kind of do whatever it is that they want. And I mean, not much different than, what's still going on. We've got Mitch McConnell, who's shuffling along and freezing mid-sentence, and has spent his entire career really screwing people, women, Black people, you name it. And, I am a big fan of term limits for all these people, but it's just me.
That's interesting. I'm not big in term limits, but I see your point. My whole term limits is like, we have term limits, they're called elections, but I see your point.
Right.
Just know when to get off the stage.
Right. I mean, we're dealing with that with the Democratic Party, especially right now. There's a whole lot of old blood and they don't want to make room for the new blood at all.
I think that's like a boomer thing generally, I feel. And I'm sorry to people in this chat who are boomers.
It's not all boomers, just
not all boomers, but like I'm married to a boomer, so I don't want to be critical of all boomers because my husband is wonderful. But I will say, as a general rule, boomers don't like to leave. Like they don't like to make room. Like we've had boomer presidents since Bill Clinton. We've
never had a Gen X. We've never. I mean,
that was 1992.
I know.
We've had boomers in office since 1992. I don't think there's been another generation in the history of the country that has been around as long as these guys have, and they just won't leave.
Yeah, they won't.
I'm talking about running again.
Right.
Get out of here.
My mom actually just texted me. She said Strom Thurmond was 99 when he left office. He was born in 1902 and left in 2001.
Okay, so he left right when he left right when I was there. So I must have been there like the last year. So he was 99. All right, thank you. Mrs.
Right. It's funny because I feel like in terms of white Southern sort of racist senators, Trent Lott was kind of the next one, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah, Trent Lott.
What was his thing?
Trent Lott screwed up. Trent Lott said, it's so funny. Trent Lott said something racist and resigned, as I recall. Which
is that what happened? Yeah, because then he went into
that actually used to happen. Like people used to like actually resign over stuff like that.
Because things could be career ending, like once upon a time. Because he used to work at Patton Boggs in DC. After he left the Senate, and my husband was an associate at Patton Boggs at the time
in DC.
And Joe lived in DC for a few years, and I know he's, used to walk by his office and be like, "Hi, Senator," And I was like, "Ugh."
No, he was the leader when I was in the Senate. So that was a lot, but also a long time ago. But he wasn't like, he was from Mississippi, but he wasn't
like Strom Thurmond. Like Strom Thurmond was like a very extreme case.
Yeah, like Strom Thurmond, Jesse Helms, literally like, I mean, that's like old school segregationist shit that you don't didn't happen by the time Strom Thurmond came around. I mean, Strom Thurmond definitely grew up under that mentality, right? By the time he was in office, or at least a leader.
And I think about this often, and with all the shows we've done this week, I think we've talked a lot about generational hand-me-downs, whether it be trauma or whether it be, storytelling of struggle or racism or shared experience of, anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
And I think about, a lot of, I hate to say boomers, but boomers who grew up in the South, like older boomers, grew up in Jim Crow. And like, I mean, like the white boomers. And I always think about like, it wasn't that long ago. Like I have worked with people in their 70s who grew up in Mississippi and I'm just like, what? Like I don't know how that mentality, even if you're a good person, even if you know, move away, I don't know how that doesn't permeate somehow into your brain or into your worldview, at least a little bit. And I think about that really often because this country, the stain of this country, there has been a through line of racism and anti-Semitism through our entire country's history. And there's parts of the country where that has really, you know, never gone away. And generation after generation after generation, those sort of horrible traits get passed down. And it's like we're living through another cycle of it coming to the surface and showing its ugliest face. And, you know, maybe I've just been watching a lot of documentaries this week. I just finished watching the U.S. And the Holocaust last night. I watched the last bit of it, and
So depressing.
it is depressing. But it's like you can't fix the problems until we face them, and until we actually look into the hard truths and the hard, painful history of our participation in so many dark parts of our history. Only then can we fix the problems and move forward. And what we're dealing with in this administration, especially, is erasure of the people, erasure of the stories, the history books, the African American Museum. I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's the list of words that the federal government's not even allowed to use anymore, including the word woman. It's among many, many, many others.
Yeah. There's a
It's
story in the
just,
New York Times about that today, which I did. I
oh, was
skimmed.
there?
Yeah, I skimmed it. I didn't read it. I'm going to read it after we're done today. But basically, on the front homepage of the Times website, I don't know if folks in the chat had a chance to read it. And if you did, let us know what you think. But
Yeah.
basically saying exactly that, I mean, that Trump is trying to literally rewrite history.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is insane. Like, that's authoritarian shit. That's like,
It is.
I mean, that's book burning.
Right. It's like, don't believe your eyes. Like, don't believe your eyes, you know, and it's, and then you reshape the mind, especially young people. There's already states in the country that are learning alternate histories, like in Oklahoma, Florida.
You're not allowed to teach, you know, basically the Civil War. You're not allowed to talk about who was responsible.
Right.
Why,
I mean, I have a friend from Georgia who actually went to the Darlington School, which is the same one that Ron DeSantis taught at. And he was telling me, he's like, they called it like the War of Northern Aggression. Like we called it, there was all these different things that we called it before we called it Civil War. And by the way, JoJo is here.
Hey, Joe.
Hey.
Hey. Sorry. Holy moly, baseball.
How's it going? Welcome to this very uplifting chat. How are you doing?
Oh my gosh.
Is it cold out?
It's freezing. Well, it's freezing compared to what it was yesterday. It's like 20, it's like 20 degrees colder than it was yesterday.
Yesterday was so beautiful.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if this is a fashion faux pas, but I'm wearing linen pants and a turtleneck. Like, I don't know if you can
listen, girl, live your truth. Live your truth.
I am wearing a sweatshirt that somebody gave me that I realize now the person that gave it to me ran a cannabis company, and I hate pot. That's not my thing, but that's what this is. This is his cannabis company.
Look, that's in 1906?
1906, I think.
Oh, that's when Strom Thurmond turned like 60. That's nice.
I was talking about that.
Hey, Michelle, what's on your sweatshirt?
No, I got Placid. I got this at Lake Placid.
Oh my God. Nice. Can we just talk for a quick sidebar? I want to get into Mitch McConnell and just some of that, but Lake Placid, oh my God, it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. I grew up obviously like somewhat near there. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And during the summers, Joe and I, my Joe, sometimes we'll drive up and just spend like a few days on Mirror Lake and then take the boat ride around Lake Placid. And it's a beautiful place. And you know, it's just the mountains. I mean, if you've ever been to Whiteface Mountain, I don't ski or anything. And that the cool thing about Lake Placid is that it is a tourist destination all year long.
Yeah.
You can go to ski or you can
Yep.
go in the summer and really have a great time. There's things to do and it's just like, it's so peaceful. So
Yeah,
peaceful.
it really is, and I'm such a dork, like, the Miracle on Ice, right? Like, so, like, so when I
Mm,
went into the arena, I started to cry because I was like, just like, "Oh my god, this is where that happened."
I
Yeah.
know. It's really cool. And they just renovated the
Oh,
whole
they
place.
did?
Oh,
I
really?
haven't been since the renovation. They did this in the last couple years. But I'm hoping to go back this summer and see what they've done because I know they're
And you
trying
can
to have more sporting events there and
you
use
can
the
go on a
space.
bobsled. You can go on a
Mhm.
bobsled and go down
Really?
like a smaller version of the bobsled track, and they still train there. I mean, they still do a lot of
Yeah,
Olympic training.
they do. They do. They
Amazing.
do.
I went to a wedding in Lake Placid, but that was like 20 years ago, and that's my only
Yeah.
experience with Lake Placid. But I remember it being really beautiful, like really,
Yeah.
really.
Oh, Anna, who was on the stakes with us the other night, she used to be an ice dancer and
Oh,
so she used to train at Lake Placid and she was telling me all about like how great it was to be there. Just, it's like to your point, Joe, it's you walk in and it's just you feel the history and it's a very cool place. And it's tiny. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. It's like you think about places who that have the Olympics now, it's Beijing or New York or Los Angeles. Okay. It's tiny. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how did they fit all the people here? I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder that
It's very
too.
small.
The Olympics villages and stuff. Also, sorry, last thing about this, but you can go up to the ski jump, right? Is that thing?
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
terrified of heights, like cripplingly terrified of heights. But like you can go up there and kind of see from their perch.
Yeah.
It's no joke. Like I can see that on TV, and it looks kind of scary. But oh my god, it's so high.
It's
I'm
really high.
terrified of skiing.
Yeah,
I have
do that.
one phobia in this world, and that is literally going down a ski slope because I've done it 2 or 3 times, and every time almost pulled a Sonny Bono and literally
Oh no.
that's a deep
like this close every time. My son, meanwhile, who's 12, like does like double black diamonds off the trail. He's insane. He's like, "Mom, can you go skiing with me?" And my husband got me up on some like green thing. I was so scared looking down. I asked them to take me down in that little like thingy where you're looking, you're like lying flat on your back, like I was injured. Except I wasn't injured. I was just terrified, and like I can't get over this phobia. It's really bad. It's the only thing in my life I have a phobia.
I've never, especially in my 40s now, I'm like my knees would just
Not even knees. I just know, like I see my future before my eyes if I go down ski slopes. Anyway, neither here nor there. So, you guys, we were talking, Joe, before we got here about how Cory Booker stuck his Strom Thurmond and how much Strom Thurmond sucked when I worked with him in this. I didn't work with him, but when I worked in the Senate and he was there because he was, as Michelle's mom so kindly pointed out, 1,084 years old by the time we got him, which I think in reality, I think he was 99. But then, yeah, and then we had those great elections in Wisconsin, and I would also say in Florida, everybody thinks is bummed that we lost Florida. Like we were not going to win Florida, but
it was going to be very hard, very hard.
The beauty of Florida is that we cut those margins down from what Trump got 4 months ago in half. So it took Trump 4 months to get not just Democrats to come out against him, but also his own voters turned on him, which I think is really the story that was kind of lost here. And as much as mainstream media loves interviewing Joe Sixpack, or as JoJo calls them, Ma and Pa MAGA, in diners in Ohio, maybe they should go down to Florida 1 and Florida 6 and interview some of those Ma and Pa MAGA people and ask them why they didn't vote for Trump's candidate, because I think that merits an examination, perhaps. Since they spent so much ink on the other side of this, trying to understand, like they're in a safari, how Trump voters think. But then, so that was okay, and that was good, and that was a good start of the week. And then the next day, I guess to change the subject from being a total loser, Donald Trump decided to, I don't know, bankrupt the country, make everybody hate us, make us isolated from the world, tell our allies to go screw themselves. And by the way, when I say allies, I mean literally everybody.
Yeah. Well, except for Russia and North Korea.
But yeah, I'm sorry. Our new allies did not get screwed. Russia, North Korea, and Belarus did not get screwed. And by the way, when I mentioned that on Twitter, all these MAGA people started coming out and they're like, well, that's because we don't do any trade with Russia. Well, first of all, we still import Russian stuff. I don't know if people know that. That's one. And two, We don't do trade with Iran either. But guess
We don't
what?
do trade with penguins. We don't trade with the penguins.
Yeah, we don't trade with the penguins. We don't
Was
trade
it like
with
McDonald Island or something?
Yeah.
That's like 100% penguins.
We don't
and
trade.
no humans.
Yeah. By the way, he put tariffs on Diego Garcia, and the family member that I've talked about in the past, who is a female who served in combat and did a fucking kick-ass job, might I add. She was stationed in Diego Garcia, where she was stationed to go fly in an airplane that bombed Afghanistan after 9/11, and we put tariffs on Diego Garcia.
And there's nobody in Diego Garcia but us and a few Brits, right?
Yeah.
It's all military bases. So like everybody who's like, well, that's because we don't do any trade with Russia. Actually, yeah, we still import stuff from Russia. So like oil, we do. That's one. But as Joe points out, we don't with the penguins, we don't with Diego Garcia, we don't with Iran. And yet all of those got sanctioned. So again, I ask, why?
It's
And
like one
speaking
of
of
these
Russia,
things is not like the other. One of
yeah,
these things just isn't the thing.
This is your Schoolhouse Rock for your Saturday morning. If you guys missed this back from the 70s and 80s, we're here to provide you one of these, which of these things is not like the other. And also how a bill becomes a law. The way we learned it on a bill on Capitol Hill is no longer how a bill becomes a law because we don't have an independent Congress anymore. The other thing about Russia that I thought was so fascinating I want to touch on is for all that Trump is like, I'm going to bring peace to the valley within 5 seconds of being president. He sends whoever, well, his Steve Witkoff, who I might add is not an official representative of the United States government. He's a real estate investor from New York. He's meeting with Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin's literally family best friend comes to Washington, which is just who's been sanctioned by our government, by the way. He lands in Washington this week. He goes and meets with Steve Witkoff. Like, who the hell is Steve Witkoff and why is he representing the United States government in the Kremlin? Why is he on these signal chats with Pete Hegseth about military plans and what they're going to be doing with the Houthis in Yemen? We don't know. We don't know. Is Steve Witkoff getting money from Russia? We don't know. You know why we don't know? Because he doesn't have to actually submit his financial disclosure forms because he doesn't work for the government. But anyway, so Steve Witkoff and Trump meet in the White House. I don't know if Trump did, but Steve Witkoff meets in the White House with Putin's best friend, which nobody kind of seems to be focusing on. God knows why. And then what does Putin do? Yesterday, he bombs a place in Ukraine named, I think it's called Kryvyi Rih, but I'm not sure that's how you pronounce it in Ukrainian. That's how you pronounce it in Russian. And so if you're Ukrainian, I'm so sorry. I know they don't like to hear Russians speak their language, but I think that's how you pronounce it. But in that town, that city happens to be the birthplace and the hometown of Zelensky, Vladimir Zelensky. And so like the message was, sorry, Dad, but go fuck yourself, Ukrainians.
Right.
Donald Trump, for all that you're talking about how you want peace, you can go fuck yourself too.
Bullshit.
And there's nothing. And we're not even placing sanctions on these guys. We're not even placing tariffs on them. We're talking about, and we're welcoming Putin's best friend to the White House. So like connect the dots here. Just connect them because it's so obvious that they're not even hiding in plain sight anymore. They're just telling you what they're doing. Like that's what they're doing.
But Trump thinks we're stupid, right? I think they all think we're stupid. And then he's like,
Yeah.
I've tried. I'm very upset with you, Vlad. Naughty. I'm going to sit here and do exactly nothing about how upset I am that you're not playing nice because as long as I just sit here and pretend to be upset, we can string this along until you completely decimate them by continuing to bomb them. And these, bombings, obviously sending a message with bombing Zelensky's home too. Like Trump thinks we're stupid, but then again, he also doesn't even care. But I wanted to kind of just pick up on that because I don't know if you guys saw that shit show that was his like day of, what did he call it?
Liberation Day.
Thank you.
I was liberated from a lot of my money that day when I looked at my portfolio.
Yeah, Pete Hegseth thought it was like any other day, and he thought it was Libation Day. So Pete's still sobering up on that one. But I don't know if you saw the picture, but there's a picture of them, and JD Vance is like, basically like just like wanting Trump's. Never mind. But once again, Marco Rubio is in the picture. Marco Rubio doesn't seem to have much of a poker face, and he's sitting there like, what have I fucking done? It's just all over his face all the time, like the Zelensky meeting in the Oval Office where he looked like, honestly, he was becoming part of the couch. But Marco Rubio is one of those where I I look at him and I'm like, God damn it, you know better. And I know we've talked about this before. I know we have, but at what point are you still able to look at yourself in the mirror when you know he supports Ukraine? You know he does, and he's watching them get decimated, and he is helping it along, and he's just sitting there letting it happen. Like, I don't understand. What is he gaining? Honestly, what is he getting out of? Yeah.
I think just the title, like, how do you turn down Secretary of State? It's like an incredible gig. On the other hand, I keep calling him Joaquin von Rubio, like he's Joaquin von Ribbentrop. Like he is responsible for people dying all over the world because of the USAID.
Yep.
He is responsible for shipping all these people off to the gulag in El Salvador. He is responsible for all the death that's happening in Ukraine now that we're no longer helping them the way we should be. He is responsible for all of it because he is the Secretary of State. And to quote Colin Powell before we went into Iraq, when he turned to George Bush and he said, the Pottery Barn rule applies. You break it, you own it.
Right.
And Marco Rubio, you're helping to break it. You own it. And the one thing, so help me God, when this is all over, and it will eventually be over, I'm not sure how many of us will be alive because I think there's going to be a lot of death and destruction, but eventually this too shall pass. And Marco Rubio will be going on the redemption tour. He's going to go on the book tour. He's going to start leaking the way Ivanka and Jared always did in the first term, that I was the person telling Trump not to do this. And I was the person who was trying to, you should have seen how much worse it could have been. Yeah. It's going to be the redemption tour. And I swear to God, the first reporter on the Today Show or the first reporter on The View, I don't know, not even reporters, but the first person who invites him on to talk about this as though he's a normal human being and deserves to have a say should be run out of town on a rail and should never be admitted into the ecosystem of media ever again.
Yeah.
Because each of these guys should be shunned. And if there's going to be any interviews with them, the interviews should be about let's talk about the blood you have on your hands and explain yourself. And when you start with the bullshit of, I was trying to make it better, you should have seen how much worse it could have been. The answer is, here is a list of all the people who died, the children who died in Africa, the people who were deported to El Salvador, snatched off the street without due process, the students you decided you were going to throw into prison in Louisiana, where you know a circuit court is going to uphold your bullshit policies because it's a conservative circuit court, because you don't like their views on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, although they have the First Amendment right that the rest of us do, because they're on soil. Yeah. You own it. And I don't want to hear about Marco Rubio. I don't want to hear one, because you know what's going to happen. You know the rehabilitation tour is coming.
Oh, yeah. Because I probably want to be, well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I'm like, will he be one of the first to go? Will he be one of the first to resign and do it to save face? I mean, I think he's one of the most dangerous people, if not the most dangerous person in the cabinet, because he knows better and he's not stupid. And, you know, he comes from an immigrant family. His family escaped Cuba.
But you know what pisses me off? Marco Rubio is here legally for the same reason I'm here legally. Right. Because when I was fleeing the Soviet Union, there was a policy that if you were a Soviet Jew and you could get out, you had automatic admission in here and you could get a green card and then eventually get citizenship. Marco Rubio came from Cuba, which has a wet foot, dry foot policy. If you have 1 foot on American soil as a Cuban, you automatically can come here and you could be in a pathway to citizenship. So Marco Rubio and I actually have a very similar trajectories to how our families came here.
Yeah.
The difference is I know and appreciate that I'm part of the lucky sperm club. I happen to have been born in the right place. And so was Marco Rubio's family.
Right.
He was born 100 miles east or west or wherever he was born. He wouldn't be able to come here the same way. But he happened to have the fortune of having been born in Cuba. I had to have the fortune, if you have considered a fortune, to have been born in the Soviet Union at the time that he was in Cuba. So come on, Marco Rubio, like, you know better. And you're making it worse for these people in El Salvador, these people in Guatemala, these people in Mexico, these people in Venezuela who are literally fleeing for their lives. There is a guy sitting in prison wrongly in El Salvador who is from El Salvador, who came here because his family was told that if he didn't join a gang there and become a murderer, they would all die. He fled. He came here. He did the right thing. He asked for asylum. He got it. He got refugee status, and they still deported him, dragged him off the street in Maryland with his autistic son, who has no other caregiver full-time the way he was his caregiver. And they know they made a mistake. And their answer from Stephen Miller yesterday, when a judge told them to immediately return him back to the United States by Monday, was, well, the judge has no say over the El Salvadorian president.
I mean, it boggles the mind, right? But again, this is the sliding scale of what will we tolerate, you know, the awfulness of what we'll tolerate. And back to your point about Rubio being dangerous, Rubio knowing better. JD fucking Vance has made this particular story like his, like, oh, I'm going to show them how tough I am moment. He's out there literally lying.
Yeah, I have a clip actually if you want to watch it. He was on Fox, I think.
Yes,
I think he was on Fox yesterday, the day before. Let me show it.
Yep.
Because they're pointing to one of these cases of a gentleman that they said should not have been deported from El Salvador. They said he was not connected to MS-13. What would you tell them about that case? Because they're saying that this is a person that was a great member of society. You've looked at the court records. You've talked to the men and women on the ground. What can you tell us about that situation?
Well, there have been a few cases out there where the Democrats and the media say, oh, this person was just an innocent father of three. And then you find out, for example, I think this is the case that you're talking about. Back in 2019, an immigration judge looked at all the evidence, looked at all the data, and concluded that this allegedly innocent person that we sent to El Salvador was actually a member of an MS-13 gang. He had also committed some traffic violations. He had not shown up for some court dates. This is not exactly father of the year here. This is a person that we don't think should be in our country. Here's the most important point, though, Lawrence, is whatever the argument is, whatever the justification is, no one doubts, not even the crazy left-wing media criticize the idea that we could deport this person. They just took issue with the reasoning for why we deported this person. This was unquestionably an illegal alien. This was unquestionably a person who broke the laws to get into our country. This is unquestionably a person an immigration judge had found had zero right to be in the United States of America. We do not ask permission from far left Democrats before we deport illegal immigrants. We do the American people's business. And again, for the American people who are watching, this is such a weird, mistaken placement of priorities. We need to make our country stronger. We need to create jobs. We need to make our streets safer. What is it about congressional Democrats that get more angry at deporting violent gang members than they do at the victims of those violent gang members? I don't even understand where they're coming from. They've gone off the deep end and they got to come back to reality.
Every part of that is a lie.
Every part of that is a lie.
Provably false. Provably false. And by the way, if a few traffic violations are the litmus test for you being a bad guy, but you're the vice fucking president for a convicted felon, and the reason you're the vice fucking president for a convicted felon is because they tried to hang the last guy. But you're telling me that a father of a 5-year-old autistic child who had protected status in this country should go because of some traffic violations? Are you fucking kidding me? Sorry, Julie's dad. But all the lying, but he didn't just lie. He went and trolled Jon Favreau, not the director, the pundit.
The pod boy.
What's that?
The pod boy.
Yeah, the pod boy. He that's what he does that's his job, by the way, is to be professional Twitter troll. Yeah. Lie after lie after lie. And I just want to talk about this thing where he said their priorities are wrong because they're outraged over the injustice and the inhumanity of what we sanctioned as a government. Their priorities are askew. No, that's exactly, he said the quiet part out loud. Those are the priorities they want to pull from us. They want to extract from our country, from our people, the humanity, the outrage over the indignity and the dehumanization. That's exactly the set of priorities they want to remove so that they can continue to move forward with their power grab. And JD Vance said it absolutely out loud. And that is why we cannot let them get away with this. We have to keep the pressure on. We have to make sure that this judge's order is followed. And we have to get back in the streets, which people are doing today
Mhm.
all over this country.
Yep.
But they're expecting us to roll over. And every time we roll over, they will do this again. And by the way, there is nothing stopping them from doing this to a full-on American citizen who's just pissed them off to the point where they're going to disappear them too. And if you don't think that's happening, then you're not paying attention.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming because you see the trajectory. First, it started with people who are undocumented. This guy that he's talking about, by the way, was documented. I want to be very clear. He came here, he asked for asylum, he received it, he had documentation. And a lot of the people they're snatching are people who show up at offices where they have to check in as documented immigrants, and they're taken away on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing up. They're doing what they're supposed to do. So what are these people? What would I advise these people to do? Don't show up anymore.
Yeah.
Go into hiding. I mean, this is like Anne Frank shit. Go into hiding. And so first they started with that. Then they moved on to the student visas, right? This poor woman from Turkey, this Fulbright scholar from Tufts, who was snatched in the streets of Somerville, Massachusetts, because she had the temerity, according to Marco Rubio, to co-author an op-ed, which I didn't read, but my understanding is apparently saying that perhaps Tufts should divest from Israel because she was unhappy with Israel's policy towards the Palestinian Gaza. You know what? That is her right to say.
Mm-hmm.
That is her right to say. It's called the First Amendment. Agree with it, disagree with it. It doesn't matter. She can say it. She's not calling for an intifada. She's not saying, start burning down American cities.
Right.
Like, and Marco Rubio's response is, we didn't give her a visa to trash our country.
I have a clip here.
Right? They move on to her.
Yeah.
Then they're moving on. Then they moved on to the guy who had a green card here. This guy, Khalil, who was from Colombia, who was one of the leaders of the protest movement there. Again, I don't agree with what he did, but the guy has no reason why he's rotting in a jail. He's married to an American citizen, rotting in a jail in Louisiana. So now we're talking about people who are here legally, who are on the path to citizenship. Naturalized citizens are next, and then everybody else. Just, you see how this is going. Like, it's not a mystery.
I have a clip here. I have a bunch of stuff that I was going to play on the show on Thursday. I didn't have time. So let me just play this news clip, and it touches on this, and it has some video of that student from Tufts for anyone who maybe hasn't seen it.
Approached by masked U.S. immigration agents near her home in Massachusetts Tuesday night, Rumeysa Öztürk was suddenly arrested, all captured clearly by CCTV cameras. The Turkish national is a PhD candidate at Tufts University near Boston on a valid student visa. But the Trump administration is revoking it, accusing her of engaging in pro-Hamas activities. Watching that footage, immigration lawyer Gabriel Chin is alarmed.
It was reminiscent of authoritarian regimes. Well, I don't know if we've ever seen revocation of student visas, deportation of students on this scale.
Our movement is not only this encampment.
Just this month, two Columbia University students, Mahmoud Halil and Yunseo Chung, were also arrested. Both are U.S. permanent residents, and both are accused by the government of engaging in activities that support Hamas. Their lawyers argue they were exercising their right to speak out against the war in Gaza.
So the notion that simply because you say something that the people in power happen to dislike would land you behind bars, it raises some very serious fundamental constitutional questions. These are violations.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio has defended the deportation orders and confirmed that more than 300 foreign student visas have been revoked, many in connection to the pro-Palestinian protests on college campuses.
I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa, and once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave.
These cases have sparked protests all over the U.S. as civil.
Yeah, I mean.
So, you know what I thought about when they said that they're supporting Hamas, and by supporting Hamas, I guess it's just because they're opposing. Listen, if they want to go out on the street and say that they support Hamas, by the way, that is their right.
Mm-hmm.
That is their right to say. They're not giving material support to Hamas. They're not funneling money to Hamas to go kill people. If they want to go, and this is from the same guy who pardoned an insurrectionist on January 6th wearing a Camp Auschwitz shirt.
Right.
Right? So is that guy supporting Hitler? Is that guy supporting Nazis? No, that's okay. You get an apology from the United States government, and probably because Trump wants to do this, restitution. Remember, he's now floating the idea of giving these January 6th people restitution.
Oh, yeah.
So Camp Auschwitz gets American taxpayer money.
The architects of January 6th are going to get restitution. Think about that. Like again, they actually did support an attack on our capital, whether they want to call it peaceful, the deep state, furries. I don't know what they want to say.
Tourists.
Right, tourists.
A normal tourist visit.
But also patriots that they love and deserve their own holiday and should be celebrated, and we should all buy their albums. I mean, honest to God, none of it makes any sense. But you're right, Julie. You're exactly right. Like those are people who caused actual harm to our country, and they're protected now. They were protected and forgiven. But a student, co-signs an op-ed that they don't like, and she's arrested and removed from our country. I mean, it's upside down. But again, this is them testing. These are all tests to see what we will tolerate so that they can continue to slide the scale.
I mean, when I hear material support for Hamas, that makes, or they didn't say that. When I hear support for Hamas, and that's why they deserve to be arrested, that to me is so chilling. Because if what's next, right? What's next? Anybody who voices any opinion that they don't like is now supporting something that they don't like.
Right. It's not against the law until it's against the law. And then they make it against the law.
The question for Marco Rubio is, did they send arms to Hamas? Did they send money to Hamas? Were they in on the plotting on October 7th?
Right. Because if they were, that's something, but this isn't that.
This isn't that. They're protesting. Listen, they're protesting the fact that their universities are invested in Israel. And by the way, I don't agree with them, but that is not an outside the mainstream school of thought. There are plenty of people who agree with them. That's not providing material support to any terrorist organization.
Right.
That's a political view to which they are entitled.
And if you really want to talk about people in the United States who are aiding and abetting terrorist activity, the president of the United States is ignoring not only the American soldiers who died in Lithuania, and the Lithuanians have given more honor and more respect to our fallen soldiers than our president. In addition to that, the Dow was down 2,200 points yesterday. The dollar is collapsing. Our economy is collapsing for no reason other than just malpractice and intent to collapse our democracy. So while he's doing that, the president of the United States is in Florida at his golf club playing with the Saudis, who will help to plan and fund September 11th attacks on our country, where over 3,000 Americans died. So it's the hypocrisy and the assumption that Americans are stupid and not paying attention. It is the undercurrent to everything that these people do. I mean, look at this asshole. Hold on. This is him swinging his stupid club yesterday. Look how bad his golf swing is for a guy who, look at that. Look at that. I can't. This is just,
I mean, he worked hard Monday through Thursday, blowing up our economy. My friend sent me this number, by the way. This is not at all surprising. Speaking of, I want to get back to this Saudi thing because the hypocrisy of that is maddening, but also just like these are the same people who have truck nuts and a never forget fucking sticker on the back of their stupid dump.
Always. Like never forget, except maybe we're going to forget.
Yeah. And they're the same people, by the way, up and down my street. I fly an American flag. I'm very proud to fly an American flag. When my flag, sometimes my hydrangea, I don't put lights on it at night. I don't do all the things I'm supposed to do. But when my hydrangea sometimes rips it just a little bit, I do what you're supposed to do. I wrap up my flag. I don't let it hit the ground, all the things. I fold it up and I bring it to the place where you're supposed to deposit them and I replace it. I have people up and down my street who had Trump signs, so some of them still do, and their flags are ripped as shit. They are ripped to shit. And they're like, you don't love America, Joe. I do. Meanwhile, my guy is down there hobnobbing with the people who may have killed a lot of people here have relatives who in the Northeast who died on 9/11. And they're still flying this ripped up American flag and saying, cry harder, Joe, because my guy's down there partying it up with people responsible for my brother's death. But this number, this economic number, according to CNN, Trump is now the first president since the S&P 500 was created in 1957 to inherit a bull market and turn a loss of at least 5% at this point in his presidency. Think about this. Every time he's inherited a strong economy, he did it with Obama, and now he's doing it with Biden, he shits on it that fast. It took him less than 3 years to saddle us with $8 trillion in debt, the third largest relative to the size of our economy in our country's history. And they will still tell you that the 6-time bankrupt casino fucking idiot loser, he bankrupted a casino where drunk people just tell you twice, right? Tell you, take my money. And they're like, here, take our economy. I'm sure you'll turn it into a masterpiece as it's chugging along. No, instead, he's basically like the January 6th insurrectionists and wiping his shit on the walls of our economy. And they're like, yeah, cry harder, Joe. It's just maddening. But this Saudi thing is it gets me in a place that very few things hit me.
Yeah. And by the way, before we get to the Saudi thing, I just want to talk about a flag. So once a week, twice a week, actually, because I go back and forth. I drive down, if anybody here is from New Jersey, I live in New York, I have to drive west to Pennsylvania, and I drive down Route 78, which is the road that leads across east to west, across New Jersey. And I have the distinct privilege of driving past Bedminster every week. And you can see the biggest American flag you will ever see from the highway. That is on, obviously on his Bedminster estate. Well, the funny thing is a couple years ago, I'm driving and I'm looking at this flag, which is bigger than any American flag you've ever seen. Donald Trump has to show through jingoism what a huge patriot he is.
Right.
Absolutely ratty and shitty this flag is. It was torn up. It was so ratty and shitty. And this was Donald Trump's golf course flag. And I literally stopped to get gas and I tweet, hey, just drove past Bedminster. I took a picture of it as I'm driving like 100 miles an hour taking a picture. I shouldn't have done that, so don't arrest me, Georgia State Police. But I literally take a picture of it and I tweet it and I'm like, hey, look at this shitty, ratty flag that's flying from Trump's Bedminster golf course. And it kind of went a little viral and immediately they changed the flag. But the point is, like, to Joe's point, all these people who are like, you hate America, you don't give a shit, Joe, because you have you're flat, like, they're the ones who don't give a shit.
No, they don't.
I'm not suggesting that a flag means anything other than to say that it's all jingoist bullshit. There's nothing behind it. It's all jingoism. That's what drives me crazy about these people more than anything else. To Joe's point, he's hanging out with the Saudis, the people responsible for 9/11. I don't want to hear that bullshit about how Osama bin Laden was the black sheep of that family. Bullshit. There is evidence in the 9/11 Commission that higher up people in this former New Jersey Governor Tom Kean, who ran that commission. Talk to him. Higher up, who are still serving in the Saudi royal family, who knew all about what was coming.
Yeah.
Yep. And ask the families, by the way, ask the 9/11 families how they feel about the Live Golf Tournament. Ask them how they feel about it.
And their trophy that literally looks like a fallen tower.
Which is, I feel like we should find a picture of that. I'll put
let me
a picture of that.
Let me get one. I'll do it.
It is shocking. The first time I saw it, I almost threw up because, I lived in New Jersey when that happened. I had just moved out of New York. My now ex-husband was working at Windows on the World right before 9/11.
Oh my God.
My family member got married so that was a Tuesday, right? So on the Saturday following 9/11 on a boat that docked out of Weehawken. So it was still very, very, very much on fire. And I was convinced that we would not sail, that we would stay docked, that there was no way that this wedding boat was going to sail in any direction, let alone south. Well, they did. And so as we are approaching ground zero, we're all on the deck. And that image, the image that we all know, this iconic fucking catastrophic image of the twisted steel that was still standing was there, backlit by fire. And we were all just completely sobbing on the deck of this boat, like, what is even happening in this moment? And this Live Golf Tournament trophy, it gives me the chills, because tell me that we're all imagining that.
No.
Come on.
Believe your eyes. Believe your eyes. Believe your eyes and what they tell you. Like, you are not crazy. You are not hysterical or dramatic for putting these two images together, because what the hell else would that represent?
When have you
the
ever seen a
hell
trophy that looks like
else?
that? When have you ever seen a trophy that looks like that?
Right. Right. Like,
No,
I'm looking at all my
it
husband's
looks like
backgammon
steel. It
trophies
looks
back
like
here.
it looks
Yeah.
like steel from the World Trade
Yes.
Center.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. They're trolling us.
Yep.
They're trolling us. And like the golf community, listen, I played golf as a kid. And I loved playing golf, and I've always watched the Masters every year with my dad when I was a kid. It was a special thing for us to all participate in, but it has become increasingly difficult to watch golf anymore or even enjoy it, because so much of the golf community is entangled not only in MAGA and Trump world, but with the Saudis. And Tiger Woods is brokering this like peace deal right
Tiger
now.
Woods is dating.
I know. And
Yeah.
he's right. And he's brokering this like peace deal between the PGA and Live Golf to try to bring it all together. And I'm like, no. This is why I love Rory McIlroy, because he hates all that shit. But it's like,
Listen to the families. Listen to the
I
families.
know. And but there was a Live Golf tournament. Gosh, what's the part of the city? There's like a golf course, like not far from New York. It's like isn't it like in the Bronx or something like that? It's one of I don't know, but it was
the old Trump wasn't an old Trump.
Yeah.
The one that AOC talked about.
Right. And they had a Live Golf tournament there that Eric Adams allowed, because of course he did. And I was like, and I went on Google Maps and looked at the distance, and it was only like 20 miles from ground zero. I was like, are you
Hunts
guys
Point?
serious?
It's much less than that. I think it's
or whatever. It was
5
it
miles
was
or
not a lot of time, or a lot of distance.
Yeah.
It's And to the patriotism point, it's so unfortunate that Democrats and liberals, we look at sometimes that over performative patriotic bullshit because it's so phony, a lot of it. And really what it is a lot of nationalism. And I think a lot of that got much worse during the Iraq war after 9/11. And I think the whole boot in your ass, it's the American way. I mean, it was so disgusting that it turned a lot of people off, especially since the whole war became, it wasn't exactly what we thought it was and what they were telling us that it was. And because of that, the right has been able to sort of co-opt patriotism and the flags and the eagles and all this bullshit. And the left and the Democrats have sort of shied away from it because it feels phony and it feels like nationalism, which is not what any of us want to do. But the truth is that the flag belongs to all of us. Patriotism belongs to all of us. Our country belongs to all of us, whether you have been your whole life or part of your life, whether you were born here or whether you're a naturalized citizen, it doesn't matter. And, my husband and I were at the Yankees game last weekend, the one where there was all the home runs. It was fantastic.
Oh yeah, that was the Yankee game.
Yeah. And during the 7th inning stretch, they have the God Bless America. And then the problem is when you go to Yankees games is you're dealing with a lot of, no offense, bridge and tunnel people that are big MAGA. And it's like a lot of Long Island, right? And
it's Long Island.
A lot of Long Island.
Yeah.
And then it goes, USA. And like, and I looked at my husband and he's like, I hate this shit. I was like, I know, but we have to stand. We have to give respect because we can't let them have it. No matter how bad things get. And I struggle with this because our country is doing a lot of bad shit right now, like really, really, really bad shit. How do you remain patriotic for your country and also, feel embarrassed and ashamed of what they're doing? I mean, I struggle with this, but I think for now it's like we have to stand strong and say, this country belongs to us too. We will fight for the values that we believe in and for the foundation of what this country was founded on.
Yeah, Michelle, I just want to talk about that really, really fast because
Yeah.
it hit me, and I 1000% understand what you're saying. And I'm a big sap, okay, world famous sap, and I cry during fireworks. I cry, whatever.
I love it though. That's why we love you, Joe.
Well, it's hard on my sleeve, especially as it pertains to our troops, and when they bring out the veterans and they have these World War II vets, like, on the field, and we sing "God Bless America," and my kids understand. Like, I do understand that for so many people, this is just some performative bullshit. And I understand the hypocrisy of a lot of people standing there while supporting Donald Trump, and singing that song with their hand over their heart when they're actually supporting everything that's antithetical to that. But right. I stand and I sing and I put my hand over my heart because I believe in the promise of what those things are supposed to represent. And I believe in showing my children that even though those are largely symbolic things, they need to understand that even though I don't agree with those people who are supporting a traitor, he is a traitor, okay? He's a traitor who's trying to destroy our democracy. Everything about him is antithetical to who we are as a country. And I want to stand up and show my kids that I'm going to keep standing up, that I believe in the promise of what those things can represent. They are symbols. They embody what we do in response to them. And that they wrap themselves and cloak themselves in the flag, and literally, like we talked about this, like in Snuggies and singlets, and you
as a shield,
right?
As a shield,
exactly, right. And they tell me that I don't love this country, even though I 1000% do. I love this country so much that I will stand up and fight for their rights, for them to be assholes, for them to be pricks, for them to tell me that I don't love this country. And so, like, I get it's hard too, because I am also embarrassed for our country when I look at what the world is seeing. But if they can co-opt this to a point where they can make me sit down or engage from the things that I also value, then they win. And I just won't let them do that. So, like, I get it. It is rife with like all sorts of contradictions and difficulty and anxiety, and we are burdened with this in this time. But I'm a big old geek, and I'm still going to stand up, and I'm probably going to cry every time I sing that song. And I just that's something I kind of own. But I understand what you're saying too, and because they just don't realize how hypocritical they're being most of the time.
It's your Edelweiss moment, right? Like, it's your but seriously, like, it's your Captain Von Trapp moment. I'm actually not even trying to be funny about this.
No,
right?
I know. It's just Edelweiss makes me
cry too, which, by the way, we all know is not really an Austrian song, right? We all know.
Right. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
No, Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Right, Rodgers and Hammerstein. Yeah, they were responsible for that.
Yeah, well, but it's still beautiful, and it's kind of the same notion, right? That you love your country despite the forces that are taking it over, and precisely because you love your country, do you oppose the forces that take it over? You know, that scene of, and again, it's going to sound so sappy, but it gets me every time when Captain Von Trapp comes back from his honeymoon and he sees the Nazi flag hanging from the house, and he rips it up, and I think it's a big meme. But I mean, it's kind of the same thing, right? Because these people are trying to turn this country into something that is unrecognizable to those of us who love it. And I've always said I love this country like only an immigrant can, because I've seen the other side, and it's precisely because of that this country has been a refuge for everybody. For Joe's dad, who came here, Michelle, for your family that's been here since the American Revolution, if not before. All of us have come here for a reason, to build a better life for ourselves. And it's not to return to some crazy authoritarian bullshit that everybody in this country, for the most part, except the Native Americans, left. There is a reason why people arrived here. It is to escape that. There's a reason, Joe.
How funny is this?
Sorry, I'm just reading the comment.
This made me laugh out loud.
I don't even know how. Hold on.
Don't let the nuns work on your car.
Sorry, Julie.
That was fantastic. Anyway, sorry.
I mean, listen, we could have a whole separate Sound of Music.
We should have a Sound of Music episode.
I literally, I can quote every inch of that movie. But it's just, it's just sad. The whole thing is awful. And
The whole thing is awful. I mean, right before the election, I was at one of the playoff games at Yankee Stadium, and during the seventh inning,
both of you, because you've both been to Yankee games this season. I haven't yet.
I know it's pretty great. They during the seventh inning stretch, these guys, like, I don't know, the next section over, where had the Trump flag. They were flying the Trump flag during the seventh inning stretch. I was like,
they're not allowed to do that.
oh yeah, I mean, it was like, who's gonna stop me? And it's because we were sitting in like the fancy seats, which we only could afford because they were on StubHub like 20 minutes before the game started.
Yeah.
But you know, it's, and all the people sitting around us, the guys in front of us had a Bedminster Golf polo shirt on. Like, it was just like, and this is the kind of people you deal with a lot of, unfortunately, at Yankees games. Yeah. But I will say it's thrilling. And can I just show this really quick? So that this was during Aaron Judge's home run grand slam. My poor husband was at the bar getting me a vodka soda, so he missed it. But luckily I got it on yeah.
Okay. My son literally had that, but
yeah, it was like right in front of us. It was so fun.
Like, well, that, first of all, like that is a super fun section to sit in, because balls go there all the time. Also, you're sort of close to the bleachers, which is like, right. It's a totally different. It's like
different
Vegas.
vibe,
like Mardi Gras. But I just wanted us to take it into this just real fast, this baseball conversation. Yes, we all love the Yankees. My God, here's Garrett Cole. God bless Garrett Cole, and may he come back nice and strong and healthy. This is from his Cy Young. But baseball, Michelle, and Julie, the thing about what's so crazy for me as I go to these Yankees games, and I know I'm surrounded by a lot of people who, if my car broke down in the wrong spot and I was to knock on their door and they knew who I was, they might be wearing my skin as a coat at some point. I know that, right? But when I'm at these games, there is something so restorative and cathartic and universal and timeless and healing about this beautiful sport. And I can forget, and me, I mean, this is not easy to do unless I'm sitting with George Conway, who was the one I was to the game with, because he was kind enough to take me and my kids. My friend George Conway took us to the game, which was amazing. But unless I'm sitting with George Conway, and I'm kind of reminded by the fact that this is, we talk about politics a lot. Joe Piscopo was sitting behind us, by the way, who's completely opposite us in politics.
Oh my gosh.
Did you guys talk to him?
Joe Piscopo? No. I'm like,
no, but he saw me look at him and he thought I was a fan and he waved, and I was like,
oh, you're like, no, honey, I'm not. That's not honey. What this is.
No. But baseball is really like medicine, and you can go there and forget about the things that divide us, and then that reminder about all the things we share, about all the things we have in common, about all the things that unite us, is a really great way to fuel a fight to continue to stand up for this country. Like, baseball is this metaphor, right? Like, even though we can completely disagree on some really fundamental fucking things, we're all here. We all love this sport. And that is a big deal. And we can all put that shit aside to root for our teams. I mean, even if it's, a Dodgers fan, and Dodgers fans, no offense, there's a little of loss there right now. But we can both agree that we love baseball. And like, I just wanted to say that, because it really does make me feel better every time I get
the big tragedy in my life. So when I was pregnant with my son, I just remember saying, I don't really care if he grows up to be a Republican. This is before Trump, so I was a little bit more lackadaisical about this. I was like, I don't really care if he grows up to be a Republican or Democrat. I just need him to be a Yankee fan. He cannot be a Yankee fan. What happens? My son is a huge sports obsessive. There's only one sport that he's just completely not into, and that's baseball, which
why?
And we are very good friends, family friends, with a very, very, very famous former professional baseball player who, out of respect for him, because he's a very private guy, I'm not going to mention, other than to say, like, super famous. And we have dinner with him all the time. And my son turned to him and he said to my son, he goes, what are you into these days? And my son's like, oh my God. We start talking about football nonstop, starts talking about hockey nonstop, basketball nonstop. And the guy goes, what about baseball? And my son knows exactly who he is. And he goes, I got to be honest with you. That is a slow game, not a lot of action.
But with the pitch clock now, it goes so much faster.
And this baseball player, this guy who sometimes he watches and his wife watches our show. So I hope you guys don't mind if I'm talking about this, but I'm not mentioning who you are. Turns to him and says, well, it's the only game where you don't know which way the ball is going to go. And I thought that was such a good, way
That's insightful
to describe it.
Yeah.
Because it's true. He's a former pitcher, so he kind of understood what he was saying.
Yeah.
Like, and that was a really good way to describe it, I thought. Because it's true. It is the only sport where you don't know which way the ball is going to come at you. Like football, you know it's going to go in one direction because that's where you're trying to get it down the field.
Right.
Where the puck's going. Basketball, you know which way it's going to go. With baseball, you don't know. Which is why it is the smart thinking person sport. And why we all love it so much, except you're my 12-year-old who thinks it's boring and a lot of action.
I love it. I love it.
I mean, here, let me ask this question. In terms of baseball and Americana and all the nostalgia and all the things, right, that make us feel all the feels, what are your favorite, or what is your favorite baseball movie?
Oh, The Natural.
Right. Really?
Yeah,
that's mine.
Okay.
Mine's The Natural and A League of Their Own. Like,
mine is A League of Their Own, I think.
Yeah.
Like
movies that are actually about baseball and about the sport and its meaning.
Although The Sandlot, right?
I mean, that's like my millennial catnip forever. I mean, it's just so good.
Mike Joachim, I think that's how you pronounce your name, Joachim. I'm so sorry for you because I know you're saying "Let's go Mets," and you guys, you poor guys, you always get your hopes up this time of the year. It always looks really good for you, and then inevitably the collapse always happens.
I'm taking my son to a Mets game to see Soto, and we're sitting right behind Soto. And it's not because my son wants to say "I love you" to Soto. He is very upset with Juan Soto. So he's like, "Mom, do you think they'll throw things at him?" I'm like, do not throw things at Juan Soto. We can be mad at him.
Yeah.
We do not throw things. We are not those people, because those people get banned from baseball. All of the guys the Yankees guys who grabbed Mookie Betts and like held his arm, they're banned from baseball. But no, I'm a reformed Mets fan. I grew up a Mets fan.
Really? Listen, I have no hatred against the Mets. I think they have a better ball. I think they have a better ballpark, quite frankly.
Oh, I've never been.
Yeah, for sure.
I haven't seen it. I grew up at Shea. I haven't seen this one.
Yeah, it's way friendlier and nicer than Yankee Stadium.
I don't like the new Yankee Stadium. I love the old Yankee Stadium because when you come in, it was almost like you come through the tunnel and all the lights go out. But the new Yankee Stadium, I've never gotten used to, even though it's not that new anymore.
Well, if you've ever done the tour, they talk about that, because I took my son up for his 8th grade graduation on the tour at Yankee Stadium, which, by the way, then you get to hold Judge's shoes and Babe Ruth's baseball bat. And it was like,
wow, I didn't know they did that.
Oh my gosh. And
that's
Garrett
cool. How do I do that?
Girls, we have to do it. We have to do it. I cried. Well, I cried.
You cried at the Yankee tour
stuff, and it is just, oh my gosh. And that was
Bad News Bears. That's a good one too.
Bad News Bears is good too. That's a good one.
Bad News Bears. Yeah, great. Oh God, that's a great movie. Forget
Isn't
it.
that so? I was like, I forgot it. And watch Moneyball.
Tatum O'Neal, young Tatum. Moneyball's also really good.
Moneyball's great. It just
I've never seen Moneyball. Yeah. I've never read the book either.
But yeah, I'd only been to the old Yankee Stadium once, and they talk about that decision to open that up, because it used to be that you couldn't see the field from any other spot until you were in the tunnel going down. And they made a conscious decision to open all that up so that you could see the field from concessions, et cetera, et cetera. And, Wrigley, obviously, and other stadiums, they're still like that, where it's like you can't see the field. I think Fenway is largely like that until you're actually in it. And there is something about almost like a curtain reveal.
Yeah.
Like when you go to Disney and you come through that main entrance, and it does feel.
You see
Walt
Castle. Yeah, it's so nice.
But like that was the idea, that it was supposed to feel like a curtain opening and everything unfolding before you. But I do like that I can go get a hot dog for my son and still see the game.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
I went to college up in Boston. Joe, I know you did too. But I went to BU, so I lived literally right behind Fenway Park.
Yeah,
like right behind Fenway Park. And for a Yankee fan, that was really a painful 4 years. But then I went to a Springsteen concert at Fenway. Like, I want to say, God, I'm going to say 2002, 2003, 2004, sometime around that time. And we're like nothing to do with baseball. We're at Fenway. We're watching Springsteen. The guy literally takes a breath between songs and the entire stadium erupts in Yankee Sucks cheers. And I was like,
Get over it.
Oh
Look,
my
and this is
God.
before they won the World Series. So everybody, I was like, okay, 1918 losers. And then the following year, they
Yeah.
won the World Series. But there is some Yankee hatred out there, my friends.
Oh Lord.
Oh, I know.
Honestly,
I made the mistake of wearing my Yankees hat at a bar in Boston. I was there visiting someone, and
you're lucky for
I got heckled
I'm
badly.
Yeah.
I will say this though, like my very first Yankee game that I ever took the kids to, I didn't have two dimes to rub together, and my son was a brand new Yankees fan. He was like 8 years old, and he's please, can we go? And I'm looking at ticket prices and like the 400s. Obviously, I'm looking at them. It was really cheap. It was like $36 a ticket or something like that at that time. And I was like, okay, I can figure out a way to afford this. So we go, and they're playing. We literally, my daughter, when we got up there, she goes, I can see the tops of the clouds. And my son's like, oh, we're above the birds. And I was like, I'm terrified of heights. This is awful. This is horrible. And it was a Red Sox game. And of course it was a Red Sox game. And I'm like, oh God, now we have to sit next to Red Sox fans. And I have to say, my daughter, who back then just lived to torture me with bathroom trips, was constantly like, can we go to the bathroom? Can we go to the bathroom? And I was terrified. And I didn't want to have to drag my son with me every time. And these Red Sox fans sitting next to us were like, we got it. We'll keep him safe. We promise. He'll be all right. And they were so cool. I mean, they weren't like creepy, like, you know what I mean? Like they were like, no, and they helped me kind of navigate this really weird situation where my son was protected, so to speak, at Yankee Stadium next to Red Sox fans. So shout out to whoever they were. That was really kind of them. So for that, I will say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that my great grandfather on my mom's side, he was NYPD, huge Dodgers fan. Brooklyn Dodgers. And my great grandmother on my other side, my dad's grandmother, was a huge Jackie Robinson fan, and an Eleanor Roosevelt fan, which makes me love her even more. But you know, I think about what that must have been like too, to be a Dodgers fan then, and when they just up and left. I mean, my mom said it like broke her grandfather's heart.
Sure.
That they up and left, and you know, we have 3 ballparks in New York City. I mean, I can't even imagine. That's like, you know, the heyday. But somebody said in the comment to support your local, you know, minor leagues. Okay, my cat is like crying. To support the farm teams, you know, your minor league, you know, like there's a Mets team up in Syracuse. You know, I know my parents have thought about going to those games and stuff. I'm like, it's true. Like support baseball everywhere if you can.
Oh, we have the Patriots right here in Somerville. I mean,
Somerset County, you do. I've been to that stadium.
Somerset Patriots. They're incredible. Garrett, a lot of rehab assignments go there too. So we were in the front row when Garrett Cole was doing rehab assignments. You can also, you should go all the time. It's really cheap and like super like fun and affordable and close. And the stadium's beautiful. But if you want to see your favorite MLB players when they're coming back, they do rehab assignments there all the time. And Anthony Volpe was there. Dominguez was there. I mean, it's a great way to see up and comers, but also some of your favorite players rehabbing. And you're right. You totally support those smaller, you know, the farm clubs and stuff like that. And it's actually the real essence of the sport.
Yeah, it's like love for the sport in the truest sense. And I've actually never been to one. I'd love to go.
We should go to that. That's so much fun.
We should. And we need to go to a Yankees game together because
come out by me because that's really close to me. The Somerset Patriots Stadium.
Yeah. It's so fun. It is so fun to go to a ball game, and I feel bad for people who don't like baseball. Okay, my cat is like, he has somehow opened the door and come here, say hello. This is Sterling. And he's been sitting next to me going, and then like clawing me. All right, get out of here. Get out. But my husband made me think, actually, the Mets thing. I meant to say this. I wanted to buy my dad some Yankees gear for Christmas. And so I had my husband walk over to the Yankee store in Midtown because his office is in Midtown. And I was like, just go in, see what you can find, whatever. And he walked in. He goes, you guys got Soto jerseys? You guys got Soto jerseys?
Oh, my God.
And the woman was like, yeah, no, we don't talk about that. It was so funny. So funny.
Oh my God. I see a lot of people are putting about the marching in the chat. That's
I know. Yeah. Let us know if you're marching. I would love to know.
Yeah. Somebody said they're marching in Metuchen, New Jersey today. If you see your mayor, Jonathan Bush, please say hi for me. He's one of the greatest guys out there. So for whoever was from Metuchen marching today, you're lucky to live in a town with such a wonderful mayor. And Klamath Falls, Oregon. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Where's Klamath? let us know where Klamath Falls is. Is that by Bend or is that by Portland?
Oregon's on my bucket list. I have
Oh,
always
it's
wanted to see the
beautiful.
Pacific Northwest. I have never been there.
Seattle. I'm gonna be in Seattle in July.
I've only flown into Seattle. I've never gone out and around. It's very pretty from the sky. Very,
Yeah,
very
it's
nice.
beautiful. And I have to go there for a conference. So fantastic. Safeco Field. I've never been to a game there. Maybe I'll go when I see it.
And that is another bucket list thing for me. And I've talked about this with my son. He plays a game called The Show. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. It's like a baseball.
Oh.
It's a baseball video game, and it's freaking amazing, and it's beautiful, and all the ballparks are in it. And so whenever my son's playing, I'll be like, "Oh, which ballpark is that?" And some of them I've actually gotten familiar with from the video game. Like there's the Texas ballpark is beautiful. I would kill to go around the country seeing all the ballparks, like San Francisco, and
That's you know what my son and I. That's so funny that you mentioned that. We have a thing where before he graduates high school, which is he's in 7th, so we've got a little bit of time, but not that much if you think about it. We're going to go to a major league. We're going to go to a sport of some, like a professional sports game in every town in America that has one. So we were so we were in New Orleans. We went to a Pelicans basketball game, and then we went to a Saints game in New Orleans. We were just in Pittsburgh. No, not Pittsburgh. Sorry. We were just in Phoenix and went to a Phoenix Suns game. So I know. So I'm really psyched for it. That's like
that's something I want to do. By the way,
okay, Nancy, now you're just poking this like this is not cool. I'll be marching in Honolulu today. Like,
oh no!
All right, Nancy, we'll see you
what,
there.
Nancy, nobody likes to show off.
Oh my gosh, to go to Hawaii right now. Oh my gosh,
I've never been to Hawaii either.
No.
Oh God,
It's a
Hawaii,
long-ass flight.
Hawaii, and it's even more magical than you can
Yeah, that's
So
what I've heard. Just great food, good people, just gorgeous everywhere.
kids are
Expensive,
good.
but like, who cares?
Yeah.
I'm
I
in
want a
Carson
trip to
Valley.
Tahiti, so I've been there, but not Hawaii. But I would.
You've been to Tahiti? I'm dying to go to Tahiti. Was it
Well,
amazing?
my ex, he won a contest, and I don't know if I can say what, but he won a contest, and we couldn't afford a honeymoon, and so a year after our wedding, he won this contest, and it was an all expense paid trip to Tahiti to one of those overwater bungalows and
Oh
all
my
the
God.
things. And it was magical, like literally magical. Like we were in the water with a giant ray, and like it was just. Oh my God. And everybody there, I was like, is this like Hawaii? They're like, yeah, pretty much. Very similar to just south, but very similar to Hawaii.
Augusta, Maine, Coco. I love it. I
Ooh,
live
I love
in Monmouth,
Maine.
Maine, which is about, I
Nice.
would say about 20 minutes.
Wait, where did you live?
I lived in Monmouth, Maine for my
Monmouth.
first
Okay.
ever campaign that I did was for a congressional race in Maine 1. Augusta is in Maine 2, but I lived in Monmouth, Maine.
What part of Maine is Monmouth in? Is it the southern part?
No, it's like central. It's like between Augusta and Lewiston, Auburn. It's a tiny little town. That's where I could
My
swim.
my mom keeps me updated in the. She texts me throughout the show to if I have questions or if she wants to remind me of things. I talked about on the show that town on Lake Ontario where Tom Homan lives, where the kids were snatched up.
Yep.
They're gonna do a protest like by his home,
Good.
and apparently the local news is gonna do a live feed from the protest. Which, like, again, up there is that these things don't happen. So WWNY TV up there, if you want to go over to their website, I think they're going to have like a live feed. I'm sure Tom Homan won't be there, but it does spark
I
joy.
will never stop calling him
Mushmouth.
Yeah,
Rangeley, Maine. Where's Rangeley, Maine?
I
Dave?
freaking love Maine. I just love Maine.
Maine is beautiful.
Like
That's another place I've never been.
oh my gosh, like
Never been to Maine?
Acadia.
No. One of my
I
best
tried-
friends lives there too. I'm like, I need to go visit her.
Get
Oh
up
my
there.
God. I have one of my really good friends from social media, a name I can't say, but a name everybody probably on this chat knows, moved there from a very red state recently to one of the bigger cities. And he and his wife love it there. And a very, very good friend of mine lived there for a really long time. I freaking love Maine. Like I've been to Maine in the winter. I'm not a skier either, but in the summer, lobster rolls. Oh my God. It's
Yeah, it's so fresh.
We were just there last summer. My son was up in camp there. So my husband and I went up and spent a weekend in Maine. We visited him, but we just spent a weekend in Maine with friends. And it was so magical. It was just relaxing. and
Beautiful. The Northeast in the summertime, there is nothing like it.
I agree.
I spent a long weekend in Nantucket when I was 26 years old. I had no money, like literally no money. I think at the time I had $150 in my bank account, if that. And a friend of mine was bartending there for the summer. And she's like, we have a house and we're inviting everyone we know, just come. And so my girlfriend and I got in our car to Cape Cod, then got on the slow ferry to Nantucket, which was like 3 hours.
Oh, it's long.
Because it was the cheaper option. And I kid you not, 40 of us slept in this house. Some of us on the floor, some of us like I woke up and my blow up mattress was on the floor. It was the most fun weekend I've ever had. And it was just so much fun, and it was beautiful and just slow in like the best way.
Beautiful.
No one's in a rush. Just everyone's just kind of like, we'll get there when we get there. And it's just fantastic.
I had a house in the Berkshires for a while, which I don't know if anybody's ever been up there.
Yeah. My sister went to Jacob's Pillow.
Oh, Jacob's Pillow, right by my house. Yeah. So if anybody ever has the opportunity to spend any time in the Berkshires, that to me is like God's country. That is my favorite place in this country.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wish I could be up there full time. It's so gorgeous. If anybody on this chat has been, let me know.
Yeah.
If anybody on this chat has not been, get up there.
Yeah.
Especially when Tanglewood is in session. The Boston Symphony Orchestra has a summer home in Tanglewood, which is in Lennox, Massachusetts.
Yep. Tanglewood. Leonard Bernstein spent a lot of time there.
Yeah.
Which it makes me think about, the Kennedys, obviously, Kenny Bunkport, right? Or no, not Kenny Bunkport.
Yeah. No, the Kenny Bunkport.
That's the Bushes. That's the
Cape
Bushes.
Cod.
They were
Hyannis.
like Martha's Vineyard or like
Hyannis.
right?
Hyannis is the Kennedys. Yeah.
Hyannis. That's right.
Yep.
Hyannis.
That's on Cape Cod. Yeah, that's the down.
Kennedy
down-
compound is that way. And it got me thinking, and not to do like a back to news stuff, but it got me thinking about the economy and like everything that's happening. And there's this speech by Bobby Kennedy. I will not say RFK anymore because people will confuse it with the bad one. But Bobby Kennedy did this great speech at the University of Kansas in 1968 about the GDP. And I wish I had a clip of it. I would play it. If you have a few minutes, go Google it, go find it. I actually heard it for the first time through the voice of the man who actually wrote the speech for him. And he talks about the GDP and the meaning behind it as Americans and the values that we have. And I think it's so beautiful. He says, the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play. It does not include the beauty of our poetry or the strength of our marriages, the intelligence of our public debate, or the integrity of our public officials. And it's just such a beautiful sentiment about the things that mean the most to us. And he just talks about weapons of war and things like that. But it's definitely go look that up. It's good stuff. But anyways, that was my Kennedy to Kennedy.
It all ties into what we've been talking about this whole chat, right? Because there's been this thread, this undercurrent through all of this, which is that we can't lose this sense of who we really are or what defines us, because it's not the numbers on the Dow, it's not the numbers of the GDP, it's who we are fundamentally. Like it is our I know I truly believe people give me shit for this, but I still believe that we are good people. I still believe that we are moral people.
Most Americans didn't vote for this.
Right. 22% of them total did, right? If you do all the math and you think about, how many people didn't vote. And what we run into the danger of is losing sight, because we're being gaslit into losing sight of who we really are, because we're being told that we're these people that we're not, because what we see on a screen is the opposite of what we believe in our hearts and minds we are. And so once you can get people to disconnect from that, you can pave the way for a lot of atrocity. And I think that baseball and Bobby Kennedy's speech and these constant reminders and these and the places on a map where everyone is from, and the fact that people are marching today and that the news is going up to that little town in New York State. These are those reminders, right?
Yep.
These are those places that we show up for each other and tell the country that, no, we are not this 22%. That is the aberration. We the people are stronger. And like, we actually do remember who we are. And we're not going to lose sight of that, because we're going to remind each other every single day. And like, I think that ties all of this together in a way, Michelle. because as he was saying, the GDP doesn't reflect our hearts. It doesn't reflect who we
Mhm.
are. That's why we're so outraged by what's happening. That's why this father's story in Maryland, may God please bring him home. That's
Yeah.
why the story gets
Or the
gets locked
gay,
down.
like, barber makeup artist that was
Yeah.
swept up, like, fell to his knees, sobbing, calling for his mother, saying, "I'm gay. I'm not in a gang. Like, I'm a barber. Please let me go." And while they shackle him and shave his head.
Yeah,
What
It
is
is
happened to him in that horrible prison, which what is going to happen to him in that prison?
Yeah.
What is going to happen?
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I my mind is going to the places, and I don't even wanna say it
I
out
know.
loud because
And
it's
there
so
are
awful.
there are a
Yeah.
lot of people who can look the other way. There are a lot of
Mhm.
people who are looking the other way. Some of the powers that be, Marco Rubio, is looking the other way right now. They don't want to look at what's right in front of their faces, but we have to see it. We have to
Mhm.
see what is right in front of us. And for those people, they make me sad. They break my heart. I mean, George Conway, again, just to mention him, he did a podcast the other day where he was talking
Yes.
about those law firms.
Yes.
the
I actually
granddaughter-
messaged him about that and said,
Yeah.
"Thank you," and he said, "Pass it on." I go, "You bet."
And
Yeah.
he's getting destroyed by MAGA for showing emotion, because he has friends, he has former wives who
Yeah.
are going along and looking the other way and allowing literal fucking atrocities, allowing the lack of due process to unfold in this country. People who know better. But that's
Mhm.
why no one on this chat, I don't care about the trolls, none of us are going to sit back and just allow this to happen. This impacts us deeply for all of our sakes, for our children, for our loved ones, for our family members, for people we don't even know.
Mhm.
And that's why I love this through line of this chat today, because
Yeah.
it's like some of
Yeah.
these things are just bigger than
And let me just say this about George Conway, since we're on the topic.
Mhm.
I never spoke to him about this, but imagine how hard it must be for George Conway. This is the mother of his children, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is, it's not that you're just speaking out the way we're all speaking out. You're speaking out against somebody who is supported by and enabled by somebody who you really cared about and happens to be the mother of your children. That cannot
Mhm.
be. It just can't be easy. And I think it's, my husband is not MAGA. Michelle, your husband's not MAGA.
Mm-mm.
Joe, I assume most people who you're close to in your life are not MAGA.
Yeah.
Tara's husband is not MAGA. It is much,
Mm-mm.
much, much harder when you have to speak out
Yeah.
in contravention to somebody who is, at that time, your wife and still is the mother of your 4 children. So, I think when all these MAGA people are sitting there trashing George and making fun of George for getting emotional, like, they forget there is a personal dimension to George in this that is very, very difficult. I assume I'm not speaking for him. I've never
Yeah.
spoken about this. I mean, I know him obviously, but I've never spoken to him about this particular element. But it's hard. It's got to be hard. In the same way it'd be hard if if I had to trash MAGA, if my husband were the right hand of Donald Trump, like, that would be really difficult for me.
This is just so disappointing. You're disappointed in people that you love because you just
course.
expect them to be capable of more, of better.
Mhm.
And that speaks to your own heart, because then you feel then the vulnerability of loving somebody and trusting somebody kind of smacks you in the face. You're like, ow, how can you be capable of these things? How can you allow for these things to happen? My heart fell for you. My heart loved you. My heart still loves you.
Mhm.
And that could be so personally disappointing in such a fundamental way.
Yeah. And listen, I've known Kellyanne a lot longer than I've known George. On a personal level, she's great. I mean, but then you look at what she's doing and what she's enabling, and you have to.
Yeah. I mean, Tara was very close with her. They were buds.
Yeah.
I know that.
And which is wild to think about too. And it's, listen, I'm sure 30 years ago during the Monica Lewinsky thing, all that was going on, and if had I been of the same age, I would not have probably liked George Conway very much, and disagreed with him pretty passionately. But, he's somebody who saw the light, and, he's still a conservative. He still has conservative values and points of view, but he believes in the promise of this country. He believes in all the good things and he recognizes the bad things and knows that we can be better. And that's one of the things I love about George Conway. I mean, I worked with him for a very short period of time at Lincoln Project in 2020. Very nice man and very smart. And I hope that everyone will go to the Bulwark and watch the podcast. I mean, you can listen to it too, but to watch it and see the genuine reaction and feeling that he has about what happened with Paul Weiss. So it was the granddaughters of the judge who founded Paul Weiss wrote a letter, and they're not women who usually are forward facing or public facing at all. And they felt so strongly about what Paul Weiss was doing, bending the knee to the Trump administration after the threats that they received. And they're just horrified by it.
And it's not easy for people at Paul Weiss. I have a very, very close friend who's at Paul Weiss. And it's not. So, the people who are still at Paul Weiss, you don't just, I guess you could up and quit on principle, but I mean, these are people who have families to support. They need time potentially to find a new job or new accommodation. So,
right.
It is not easy for the people at Paul Weiss right now. And I think from my perspective, just because it's, I do know somebody I'm very close to who's over there, like we have to give these people a little grace because that's a decision that was made by Brad Karp. It was also not easy. I think he understood that he felt the firm would collapse if he didn't do what Trump wanted. That is a mistake, from my opinion. I think it's awful. But this is what Trump does. I mean, the reality is, and I said this to my friend who's there, it's not going to end. I hope you guys don't think he's going to just move on. Because once he sees weakness, he's going to keep, there's not going to be any like, well, now that Paul Weiss is on my side, everything's okay. He's going to destroy the firm eventually.
Yep.
It's just a question of whether he destroys it with you holding your head up high or you bending the knee.
Well, it's all part of that thing we talked about last night when we did our live. It's one of the prongs. It's one of the prongs by bringing them to their knees, by making them capitulate, by making them, have to be loyal. It's one prong. There's the legal prong. There's the university prong, which we talked about earlier. Where is Tufts? Where is Columbia? Where are these people fighting for their students? A lot of them have already complied in advance too. They've erased, African-American history programs, DEI initiatives. They're going to crack down on protests. They're going to hand over names of people who don't say things that Donald Trump wants them to say. And industry is the last prong of this, not the last. It's one of the major prongs. And that's what, if you ask Chris Murphy, that's what the intention of watching our economy take a shit. That he's going to make these private industry folks bend the knee. They're going to have to capitulate. They're going to have to come down and kiss the ring, or it's the King of England all over again, where he's going to tax you, which is what these tariffs are if you don't play nice. And he's not that smart. I'm not giving him credit for being a genius. This shit has been written throughout the course of time and past his prologue. We know what he's doing, and he's got a lot of help. But, these law firms are just part of the whole thing. And we've seen it with, legacy media also. And it's like, we do need people to kind of be heroes right now, folks. We need you to kind of say, you know what? I don't think I'm going to get through the next 4 years by capitulating, because I don't think that on the other side of this, my capitulation is going to help me get there. It's going to mean that I'm going to help in erasing my opportunity to change this. So,
I was just saying the capitulation could lead to the downfall of the country. Right. And on the other side, there will be no America, or at least the America that we've ever known. And that's why, we were talking about not having MAGA people in our immediate circles or families. And for me, and people think that I'm sort of too black and white and too hard ass about this, but I don't have any grace for anybody who even normalizes this. And I'm talking about Democrats even who maybe, normalize or say, well, he's president, or I have to do this and blah, blah. No. Like there is no, like the line is in the sand. Any amount of normalizing or any grace that anybody has, even for the institution in the name of Donald Trump, like I will not participate. I just won't. And listen, I'm losing people in my life for it right now. It's very upsetting and very painful to me, but that's how it is, at least for me. And I again, watching this US and the Holocaust thing, I was reminded about Charles Lindbergh. I was reminded about the American Nazi movement and how many people normalized or looked the other way and couldn't be bothered, and I'm like, la la la, I can't, this is just too upsetting. I get that it's upsetting, but there was a great quote at the end of the last episode of that docuseries. Eleanor Roosevelt, she said, I hope that in the future we are going to remember that there can be no compromise at any point with the things that we know to be wrong.
Bingo.
And that is how I feel. It's how I conduct myself. I know it's the way that Julie and Joe do as well, and Tara, strong in our convictions and in solidarity with everybody that is out marching in the streets today, having their voices heard. I think it's going to be a good day in America.
Everybody who's going out today and protesting, stay safe.
Yes, take the location stuff off your phone before you go.
Yeah. Good luck. We are all with you, and thank you for showing Donald Trump that there's fight left in this country for people who want to preserve our democracy and our Constitution. And on that note, we've been at this for a long time.
I know. I could talk to you ladies all day.
I know. But
all day. I know, but we have to go live our lives.
Kid stuff I got to get to. And I think, Joe, you also are your kids still at the baseball field waiting for you to come get them?
My son, it goes to 1 o'clock. So
wow. So you have some time.
Yeah. You got all the time. I got to go.
I have a daughter at home who's like probably starving right now.
I got to tell my son to maybe get out of his pajamas and
well, I will say that if anyone's watching on the Seneca or the May Day YouTube lives, I did put the link to the George Conway, Sarah Longwell interview in the chat. So go look there in the live chat. And then also I just want to, of course, plug that the Seneca Project was nominated for a Webby Award. We are so honored and so grateful to the Webby judges and the Academy there for recognizing our work for American Girl. And there's a public voting forum where people can support American Girl and Seneca Project and vote for us. It's going to be really hard to beat Caitlin Clark, but we're going to try. So I'm going to actually drop the link to vote for us in the chat as well. There it
Caitlin
goes.
Clark is an American girl. She can have.
She is an American girl, of course.
But this one we need.
I know we are the little engine that could. We are a
Seriously.
tiny organization. We don't have the $1 million backers and all those. Like, we are scrappy, we're small, but we're mighty, and we are very proud of the work that we've been able to do with very little resources and not a lot of time either. So, and of course, thank you to Julie and Joe as well, because you both have been so supportive of us and helping us get the word out, and just friends. It's just been really great to have you in our corner. So thank you both.
Right now, we love you, but it's the greatest political ad I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. But a pro tip right now for all you fucking warriors going out there and marching and fighting and making your voices heard, watch American Girl. Share it with your friends.
Yes.
Play it while you're marching. You will be so fired up and so fucking sorry, Julie's dad, like ready to just take it all on. That's what that video does for me, Michelle. That's what it does. It like makes me like, through my tears, I'm like wiping them off. I'm like, let's go. Let's get in the muck. Let's get in the mud. Let's make some good trouble. Let's stand up and fight. And so share it with all your friends today. Share it with people that you're marching with. Like, it is unifying. It is timeless. It is powerful. It is beautiful. It is inspiring. And it should be a Webby winner. Period.
I know.
I'm telling you guys, I do this for a living in 30 years of politics, and I'm not just saying this because Michelle's on this on the screen with me. I really, really, really mean it, and I felt that way before I even knew Michelle. This is the best ad I have seen in 30 years of doing politics and making ads. I wish I made it. I wasn't that good. Michelle was. I'm telling you, vote for it. It is so good. It deserves to be seen, and the reason you should vote for it is because if it gets a Webby, it'll get that much more attention and more people.
Yeah. And that's really like the end goal here is just, shining some more light on Seneca Project and the work that we do, because the more support we have, because we're a donation-based organization, the more support that we have, even financially, or whether it just be exposure and people sharing our content, the more we can do, the more we can actually put money behind our ads and put them up in places like Bedminster over the summer and troll Donald Trump maybe a little bit, or just making sure that people around the country see our ads too, because these things unfortunately cost a shit ton of money. So, it helps us, and we appreciate everyone who's supportive of us.
Programming update. join all of us at noon on Wednesday for another episode of Over It. Tara will be back, Michelle. I think
she'll be back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we have missed Tara Setmayer tremendously.
As long as she can get back in the country.
If Tara does not get arrested at the border and sent to Louisiana, and if she does, we are going to march on Louisiana.
Oh yeah,
we're out.
Storm the Bastille.
I'll be for the next several months if she's
yeah. But we will see you guys all on Wednesday at noon. I actually, on Monday at 12:15, I'm doing a Substack Live with Nina Jankowicz, who I don't know if you guys know. Nina is incredible. She ran the disinformation camp office, basically, for the Department of Homeland Security until the trolls got her out of there. And she is an expert on disinformation, and especially on Russian disinformation. She is so incredible. I can't begin to describe to you. Fox News literally devoted 1 billion hours of their programming time to shut her down when she was working for the Biden administration, because they did not want anybody focusing and shining a light on disinformation. And they succeeded. Joe Biden shut it down in the face of relenting MAGA opposition, which is to his eternal shame. But Nina is fantastic, and I am so incredibly honored that she's sitting down with me at 12:15 on Monday.
Fantastic.
Joe, what do you got on tap? Anything going on this week with you?
Nothing specifically. I'm working on a couple big things, and I have a big announcement coming in about 2 weeks, but nothing specifically. I think Michael Cohen and I might be doing a weekly thing. We did one yesterday, Substack Live. So we're talking, if that's in the works, boy, do we have passionate conversations. I'll just say that. So, but nothing specifically set up for next week yet.
Okay, cool. All right, everybody.
And sorry, just really quick. I just got a text from a friend at MSNBC who's playing a piece of Seneca Project content in the noon hour at MSNBC, which I'm like I'm like, what? Okay. So they're doing a block, I think. So it'll be in the beginning of the show. So
which one is it? Is it the veterans one? Which one is it? Do you know?
It's one of our Harris montages. From the election. And I was like, really? Okay. So
must be all the things she said that came true.
Probably. Jesus Christ, God help us. Anyways, well, thank you everyone, to all 14,000 people watching right now. We're so grateful that you're here with us, even the trolls. We love you too.
Stay safe, trolls, and stay safe, everybody who's protesting today. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts to all of you. And we will see you Wednesday at noon. Bye, everybody.
I'm going to play you out with American Girl. Bye, everybody. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Women's suffrage is a long story of hard work and heartache crowned by victory.
Was it so hard being an American girl?
Women throughout the country are committed to winning these rights for themselves.
Was it so hard living in a first problem world?
I'm Connie Chung, CBS News, New York.
When the American promise is the land of the free, but I'm waiting for the bill for the air that I breathe. Was it so hard being an American?
I do. I pray that we all remember our children are watching.
Every heart beats true for the red, white, and blue. Tell me, girls, what are we gonna do? Every heart beats true for the red, white, and blue. Tell me, girls, what are we gonna do? Every heart loves to walk the red, white, and American girl. What are we gonna do? Every heart.
While I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last.
Every heart beats true for the red, white, and blue. Tell me, girls, what are we gonna do?